This ACC Preview Part 1 edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
What's up? It's the most must-see WWE superstar of all time, The Miz, and you are watching SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green, with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
What do we think? ACC All Coast Conference or BCC for the Bi-Coastal Conference?
Ooh, coast goes both ways.
We're transitioning.
Okay, transitioning from one coast to the
That's
next.
the official way to do that.
This gentleman knows all the college football info from coast to coast. Colby Dant, aka Pick Dundee, the host of the College Football Experience. What's happening, Colby?
Love talking the ACC, and I think they dialed up a. It's funny. You listen to some podcasts out there, and they think that this conference is dead.
Really?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they brought in a key member. We'll get to it.
Oh wow, Colby's really gotten hot.
Talking about the Cal Bears.
Colby loves Texas money. That's the hint.
Yeah, we're talking all coastal conference, part 1 of our preview here. We got starting. We're doing alphabetical order once again. Win totals, CFB championship. So stay tuned for Ryan's. You have to wait for part 2 to see Ryan's completely unbiased take on the Virginia Tech Hokies.
17 team conference, fringe 18 because Notre Dame has this deal to play a bunch of the teams, but yet they're not in the conference. Classic ACC move there.
Colby, you're gonna want to turn your headphones down. CJ was here yesterday, so like,
What am I talking too light?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. Yeah, I think.
Hi, Pick Dundee here.
For those who don't know, CJ has a comically high headphone level. He
Must have been a roadie for Metallica.
I was gonna say Primus, but
Primus, great reference. I do have a trivia question. We had shout out to the WWE. We had the Miz say what's up before the episode. What university that we will be speaking about today did he attend?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say because this is the conference of wrestlers. You got The Rock from Miami.
I don't think he played.
You got Ron Simmons from Florida State.
I think he played his I think the Miz played his college.
How do you know Ron Simmons went to Florida State?
Oh, dude, he was a beast. That's why.
Come on. Yeah, I think the Miz actually played his college ball at the challenge.
And
for a number of years.
Didn't what's the guy's name in the 2000s? I stopped watching wrestling, but he was damn it, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
Yeah, I'm not a wrestling guy. Sorry, I'm into sports, not theater.
Late Goldberg. Right?
Oh yeah, he played football.
Where did he go to school?
He was like a Minnesota guy, so I don't know if that helps, but I'm pretty sure he didn't he have a cup of coffee with the Vikings?
Where did he played at Georgia? That's what it was.
Oh
Georgia.
wow! So he was a real all right.
Yeah.
So where did the
played
Miz
in the NFL for the Falcons for 3 years?
Where did the Miz?
I'm gonna say Louisville. He doesn't strike me.
Louisville is on the episode today, not where he went to college.
It doesn't seem like he has the grades for even UNC.
Well, Boston College, Cal,
Georgia Tech is my answer.
Georgia Tech.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys, this was very easy. It's Miami.
Well, okay. That was the elephant in the room. I just didn't want to.
Well, I The Rock went to Miami.
Yeah.
They should rename it Wrestler U.
Just guys who have a flair for the dramatic.
Ray
Anyway.
Liotta went to Miami. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
His character or his he played
no.
a guy from Miami.
He went to Miami. Go pick up. Pick up a package. Ray Liotta only played Maniacs. It was Cocaine Bear. I think was his last
He did
film, right?
he did do a movie called Operation Dumbo Drop where they take I don't understand how this movie ever became.
Hey, Colby, sometimes you need some money. Sometimes you do one for you.
He like followed
one for the studio.
He followed Goodfellas with like a movie about dropping a fucking elephant.
Sometimes you need some cash.
Yeah, like Sean said, sometimes you get a choice, and then the studio gets a choice.
Somehow Dennis Leary was in it too. I feel like
that strikes me as the kind of movie that a lot of people got paid a lot of money to do. Probably.
I mean, this was not an animated movie. This is no voiceover work.
No,
Danny Glover, look at this thing.
This was before
95. Look at this fucking thing. Is an elephant?
They drop an elephant in the air. It is.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. No elephants were harmed.
Look at Ray Liotta's face there. See, he's not evil in this one. He's a nice guy in this one.
He's trying to catch the elephant.
Operation Dumbo Drop, folks. When's that going to be remade, Sean?
Over under Operation. Well, guess what? Operation Dumbo Drop got on Rotten Tomatoes. Colby,
this is this is 0 to 10, right?
0 to 100.
Oh shit!
I'm guessing 30s.
Dumbo Drop? No, it's probably like 8%.
Critics gave it 25%. Audience 29.
I was closer. Yes.
That's 1 out of 4 people.
Soon
that means
it cost $24 million to make. They made $24.7 million in the box office, just about.
Soon to retire Captain Sam Cahill, played by Danny Glover, and his unit labored to build a secret relationship with a local Vietnamese village in order to conduct surveillance on an enemy weapons smuggling operation that goes through on a nightly basis. When the enemy discovers this, they kill the village's elephant as a punishment. Cahill, the replacement captain, and
there's a lot of money in that.
And a team of special forces must locate and translate another elephant in time for the village's spiritual event.
A large budget movie that doesn't seem to make sense. That's making the CIA look like the good guys.
Oh wow! Right.
Let's move on.
Hey, you guys know there's a lot of money in killing elephants, all right?
Oh wow!
Colby's a part-time ivory dealer. If you didn't know,
I mean, what do you got a lot of dealers.
Colby's got an ivory guy.
He's got an alcohol dealer.
Kramer was the one saying we should take a trip to Africa.
I'm not harming animals though.
Yeah, you're just gonna do a leech trip where you want to be close to the tigers and go on a little. Safari.
I feel I would like to be closer to animal than the current state of human.
But you could be like that zebra.
Honestly, I watch the the things are at a time where I'd rather be communicating with animals telepathically than speaking words to humans.
All right.
We think
perfect setup for the Boston College Eagles?
Before we get to Boston College, do we think
what makes more money, Operation Dumbo Drop or Boston College athletics?
Ooh, I don't know. BC doesn't. It's a pretty empty stadium.
They got a solid wrestling program. Hockey is that the good one? All right. So is the ACC going to be a conference?
Well,
at the end of this year,
I think some pieces will leave, but I do think getting SMU is they're finally starting to think like ACC. You know, they had the opportunity to add UConn a long time ago, and for some reason they chose Syracuse and Boston College.
Illuminati.
I mean, UConn's actually been in a BCS game.
They don't have Illuminati
more recently than them. And then obviously several national championships in basketball, but I think SMU, and I mean, I don't know if Cal and Stanford will be there long term if once everyone leaves, but for the meantime, Cal's getting $10 million or $11 million from UCLA every year, and Stanford just did something to make them eligible to basically bring in transfers just through their athletics, which is a substantial move for the future for Stanford, because if they're not paying attention to
they have tons of money,
grade point average, that could be huge. Yeah, tons
of money.
Yeah,
no one cares about the football up there, but they have tons of money.
Wasn't always that way though. Things change, you know.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe the 49ers become crappy and the local fan base needs to gravitate to a new team. All because Brock Purdy, this kid from Iowa.
What was it? Cal football was giving away tickets for free, right?
No, Stanford. That was Stanford. Yeah.
Okay.
Cal's giving away acid for free.
This could be the year that
so you got to test it though.
This could be the year the book drops on Brock Purdy for the gambling allegations in college. Wow. Allegedly.
Well, he did go to Iowa, so
Iowa State.
Yeah. And you wonder why to pick Syracuse and Boston College? Well, you get the Catholics and you get all the people that talk into a microphone. What does UConn get you? Nothing but Dan Hurley.
National championships.
That's not important. That's a horror store. UConn or Connecticut, wherever it is, not a great place to be in the winter. All right, you want to talk about? Speaking of places not great to be in the winter, and just general football culture, Boston College.
It's a baby fucking wheel, man.
Also, real quick, shout out to everyone who celebrates. This was the couple days ago, the 8-year anniversary of the baby whale of
Really?
Jay and the guy and Jay finding that baby whale.
only
A lot
8
of people
years?
tagged me in it. Yeah, it's been 8 years, right?
Feels like a long time ago. Yeah.
Jay, that thing's sick. We got to take it to an aquarium.
Yeah, I know it is funny when you watch the whole thing, and then like any of the sound
worth
drops.
rewatching the whole thing.
Any sound drop, when you listen to the long form thing, it's just weird. Like when it cuts into the sound drop, your brain switches. It's like when you hear the broadcast of Randy Moss scoring the touchdown and then pulling down his pants, and that is it's like, oh my goodness. Boston College, one of the I kind of feel like I need to sketch this out, but game day atmospheres, Power 4 conferences. This is a bottom.
This is one
bottom 5 program.
I'd like to
bottom
see
10
them,
program.
I'd like to see them spend though, because
hold on. Let me just run through this real quick. 3-5 last year, 6-6. They did make a bowl game. 4.5 is the total. -145 to the over, +120 to the under. 170 to 1 to win the conference, and 1,000 to 1 to win the national championship. I mean, certainly. The problem that they're going to face is the Northeast doesn't give a shit about college.
It wasn't
football.
always like that though, dude. I'm telling you, you go back and watch like in the early 90s when BC had it going, and in the 80s they actually had a great home environment. And,
Patriots suck, so maybe
they
you got
have
a chance.
to care. That's true, and the Patriots sucked those years.
And they might suck again. So maybe,
but you know, got to give Patty C his flowers here.
No, you don't.
For years, he's been saying the problem is that they don't have an Irish coach. And he's been calling for Bill O'Brien for 4 years to take this job, because if you look back, the last time they were good was Tom O'Brien. Before that was Dan Henning and Tom Coughlin, right? And Patty C called this 4 years ago. He's like, they need to go out and hire Bill O'Brien. So I need to clip that, by the way. I need to go deep back into college football experience episodes and clip that, because I want to say it was like 2018 that he was calling
I think
for this.
I'm with Patty C. I think this is a great hire for Boston College. Bring some credibility. Of course, coming over from the OC job, from that electric Pats offense last year. But he came into college football in arguably one of the toughest spots of all time, trying to follow up Joe Paterno, and put out a decent year there with a lot of people wanting to leave, no one wanting to support that program. I mean, we joke about how bad it is for Boston College football. Those were dark days for Penn State the year after Joe Paterno.
He got Christian Hackenberg drafted in the second round.
Like he might be the perfect head coach for college football. Like we see this all the time, where a guy goes up to the pros, and he had moderate success in the pros, but I would not be surprised
until
if
they gave him roster decision making ability.
Right,
and
they're a guy he can't be the GM, but maybe I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up turning around the Boston College football program. Now I think they have a ceiling because, to your points, they're not going to get the money or get like real true 5 stars, but they do have 17 returning starters on a team that went 6-6 last year.
How does that change so fast though? Like when I first got into college football, they were quarterback U, right? Whether it was Flutie, whether it was both the Hasselbeck brothers or Glenn Foley.
Games changed.
They were just putting like every one of their quarterbacks were getting drafted. Brian St. Pierre, and maybe not all first rounders, but they were all like you could always count on a Boston College quarterback to go to the NFL. And I think that,
but Doug
helped
Flutie
recruiting.
Was 40 years ago.
I know, but I'm saying like even in the Hasselbacks,
you just say
Hasselbacks,
but you say Flutie as if it's like just the other day, Doug Flutie.
Well, I'm just saying from like 83 to like 2003, every quarterback that played for them got drafted.
I think a little bit of that was they were offensive line U, and they were pumping it. They had, I mean, how many of those years did they have?
Pete Kendall.
They had
Damian Woody,
They had a great offensive line. They were constantly putting offensive linemen into the pros. They had a running game, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I think you're probably onto something about like Boston being this town that gets credit for being this great sports town, but in reality they're a front running city. And so for football fans, when the Patriots were down,
Boston or the Northeast,
Boston.
Okay,
Northeast.
Oh, dude, I was at a lot. I mean, I mean, Knicks fans, credit to them, the ones that still fill that fucking Madison Square Gardens and pay that fucking James Dolan money over and over. And now people love the Sphere. So James Dolan is winning again, which is horrible. But yeah, no.
Sphere does rock.
But the Boston fans are front runners, and now, yeah, maybe the fact that they could be out on the pass.
I think them getting to 5 wins is pretty realistic, considering what they brought back. Considering I think Bill O'Brien's a decent head coach, and the schedule seems.
Well, how many did you?
It's a mystery hire to me because, like, in some capacity, like when Pete Carroll came down to college football, he had gone from coaching the Jets and the Patriots down to college football, and he lit it up on fire.
Yeah,
but a lot of times, for every one of those, there's like 10 failures. Lovie Smith, Herm Edwards. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot that are horrible.
But also, too, I would say I don't think Bill O'Brien quite bottomed out as a head coach in the NFL, right? Because like
he had one losing season. He has one losing season in his entire career. He doesn't have a ton of college coaching experience, but the hometown kid went to Brown. Shout out to Brown, little Rhode Island blood there. I think my take would be he mostly failed in the pros because of his work as a GM. And because of his inability to mesh with personalities at the pro level. So if I was worried, if he was going to a big time program where there might be bigger personalities, or he's not the biggest personality,
I think this is actually a good setup for him. To Patty C's point, they love Irish in Boston, and I think there's something to that.
He's also,
and it's going to be easy enough for him to control the program. Put in, what he wants to do.
But the real reason his teams have always been competitive is because he seems to get the most out of the offense.
And maybe you can draw a comparison. I'm looking at Pete Carroll before he went to USC.
Not many losing seasons.
At the Patriots, 10-6, 9-7, 8-8, and then he lights up USC.
It's funny, right? Yeah. People remember that as a failure.
Yeah.
Just like
never had a losing season with the Patriots.
Remember the Texans' tenure for Bill O'Brien as a failure.
But it was like 9-7, 9-7.
He won the division 4 out of 6 years in the National Football
League. And Pete Carroll went to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years and got fired.
Yeah, he just kind of hit a wall with Houston. He couldn't get him over to the next level, but he was still, to Kramer's point, like he was a bad GM, but he was still a pretty good game day head coach. And I think that's going to be huge in this ACC.
Anything in the schedule that's going to scare us off?
Yeah, let's dive into the schedule.
I mean, you're laying a bunch of juice, but to me, you got some very winnable games, starting with the Duquesne Dukes at home.
Oh, no.
FCS playoff team.
Michigan State
CJ
at home.
Sullivan.
I was going to say, I'm going to let
he
CJ
donates
know.
to their NIL
collective.
You
said that's an easy
Does
win.
he?
No.
I'm sure he does.
No, these are games I would say they have a shot at winning. Duquesne at home, Michigan State at home, Western Kentucky at home.
They could also lose those though.
Yeah.
Louisville, maybe not Duquesne.
Louisville at home, Syracuse at home.
They can lose
Pitt
all the
at
games.
home.
They could. My favorite game, and I'm so
I guess
glad.
they're not guaranteed wins, but
I'm so glad this is back. We have the JFK Bowl on November 16th. Boston
nice.
College at SMU. We know SMU had something to do with putting a bullet through JFK's brain. So
really?
Wait, what?
Well, just if you go far enough back, you got
interesting.
The
So
internet's
money,
available.
money was there.
You guys didn't know about the Kansas City Chiefs tie into that either, but it's okay.
This makes
Lamar
me
Hunt
think.
did help kill
These
JFK.
NFL owners they're great people.
So you're saying SMU
but,
helped build Epstein Island?
There might be
Jesus.
some truth there too.
Eric Dickerson took money from that. So was he on X?
So he was like Chris Tucker. He just showed up, right?
I like that they have a bunch of home games in November. You get a dome team like Syracuse outdoors November 9th. You get UNC Saturday, November 23rd outdoors in the cold weather up there.
They got Mike Tomlin's son at wide receiver. Do you know Tomlin?
Yeah.
You know about that?
You get Louisville at home when it's a little chilly.
Yeah,
that's going to be tough. But I think getting to 5 wins feels doable. Because I could see this team surprising.
4.5 or 5.5?
4.5.
4.5. Okay, I thought.
Yeah, you got to lay some juice, but I'm taking
it's
DC
like
over.
there's some juice.
So the wins are what? Duquesne, Western Kentucky, maybe Michigan State, but I think Michigan State's better coached. Virginia, maybe.
Maybe there's a lot of maybe games. Here.
That's 3. Oh man, it's actually a tougher schedule than you think.
Maybe it's not year one.
I mean, Pitt might fire Narduzzi, so they might be playing interim on November 30th. And Mac Brown's so old, we don't know that he'll be alive on November 23rd. All right?
Oh, I have, and
So I get all the letters because I say Sister Jean's not going to live forever. This 98-year-old woman, but Colby calls.
I
for
didn't
the,
wish
calls
that.
for the
I just
exact
said he's old.
death and time.
I said
of Mac
he's
Brown.
old, and you never know. I mean, Vince
Jesus.
Lombardi was
Might be running for president.
Vince Lombardi was coaching the Redskins in '69, and next thing you know, in '70, he wasn't on planet Earth. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm on the under 4-8.
Wow.
That's what I see.
unfortunately, the Steelers and Boston College share a bye week. So, all right. So,
What are you doing, Ryan?
well, I was gonna make one last note in looking up Bill O'Brien. It is funny to remember that the Big Ten called their divisions the leaders and the legends.
So lame.
So he was coaching the Penn State when they were in the leaders division. For those keeping track at home, I think Boston College, like everything we said to be optimistic, is probably right. But then when you walk through the schedule, it is tricky to get to 5.
Bill O'Brien's going to get them a couple wins that we don't see right now in this schedule.
Okay. I mean, I'm willing to be bullish but no, I'm going to take the under. It's Boston College.
Okay, lock it up. Under.
They might not even beat UVA on the road. I mean, this
I
is,
think that is the problem. Is there's no guaranteed wins besides Duquesne, and like I said, Duquesne's still an FCS playoff team. Like that's like they'll beat Duquesne.
and Bill O'Brien is still he's new.
Yeah,
Boston College isn't. I'm sure they did well to replace some talent, but they're not smashing the portal. All right,
Smash!
newcomer to the Alt Coast Conference, Cal Berkeley. Also, like Colby mentioned, getting a nice stipend from fellow California institution UCLA for them defecting to the Big Ten and leaving Cal behind. 4-5 in the Pac-12 last year, 6-6 overall. 6.5 is the total this year, plus 125 to the over, minus 150 to the under, 100 to 1 to win the conference, 1,000 to 1 to win the national championship. They definitely are going to have an advantage in a sense that they will have one of the weird long road trips in the ACC now.
But again, anytime I have a chance, I think to fade these teams coming into a new conference.
But Colby's mentioned this. They're actually downgrading the difficulty of the conference from, if we're looking just at last year. And they were a middle of the road team in the Pac-12 last year. So,
one of the things that I think is pretty wild is the Pac-12's just complete dominance over the ACC. In that historically, but also like past 30 years, past 20 years, they have just fucked them up. Right. And, I wonder if Cal can really benefit from this move. Now, Stanford is more to me in taboo. Like Cal always has good.
They have a lot of trips to the East Coast. I mean,
but they also got to come there.
yeah,
it's true. But listen to the schedule. UC Davis, all right, at home.
No, the schedule's brutal.
They should win. Then at Auburn, that's a tough road trip. Then you come back at home against the San Diego State team. That's no pushover. And then you fly back to the Southeast at Florida State. Those are your first 4 games.
No, the schedule is really
That's
brutal.
a brutal schedule.
I wonder though, because they for so long they were in the Pac-12 North, which was the hardest part. It was like, man, they were going winning 6-7 games.
Oregon,
you know, and play a 9-game conference schedule, but getting Oregon, Washington, Oregon State, Washington.
But their non-conference games are not easy.
No, I agree, but I will say this: one of the things that really stood out to me this offseason was Cal really did a great job in the transfer portal. That first off, they have the best running back in the ACC, Jade Knott coming back.
Yeah, he's good.
But then they like that. It seems like years before they didn't really care that much, right? Like they went out and brought in guys, man, like guys from Ohio State, Oklahoma, A&M, LSU. Like
this
it was really impressive. It's like all of a sudden they realized that we need to start paying attention to football.
They were a top. They are a top returning production team. So.
But do they have a home field?
They do because it's so far away. I mean,
but they don't have any fucking fans.
Their fans are better than Stanford's.
Yes. Yeah, that's And
sometimes like I think people think like Cal's are horrible.
No, they have the fans. I
don't know how much they care, but they're there.
So like for example, Cal gets Miami.
Yeah, they're there to protest oil. They're not there to watch the game.
Cal gets Miami off a bye. the week after Miami has played Virginia Tech.
Miami's going to lose that game.
That's what I mean.
State, the NC State game too.
The next game, then they got to fly out to Pittsburgh to play in Pittsburgh,
which is somewhat empty of a stadium. But yeah, I get your point. But I like the over just because I think Cal is going to benefit from not having to play Utah and USC and like I said, even though their ACC schedule, I thought they got dealt a tough hand.
It's not bad. Like at Pitt, at Florida State, at Wake, at SMU.
Yeah.
So like as far as what it could be in the ACC, that's not bad. You miss on Clemson,
Virginia Tech.
You miss on my Hokies.
Louisville.
You miss on Louisville. It's
North Carolina, right?
I mean, if you take Colby's, like these are the top 6 teams in the conference. What they're missing? What
I think they could start
4
one
of them.
I think they start 1-3, and then I think it's tough to get over that number.
I think Justin Wilcox is an underrated coach. I think
I would take a stab on the over.
I'm
going
to take it over too
because I think a lot of what you mentioned and like they have plenty of winnables. Like to me that like you comparing the California and Boston College schedules, there's a massive difference in like clearly winnable games.
Massive difference in talent to me too. There's a couple guys there's a couple guys that I look and I'm like Cal's got some NFL guys. When I look at Boston College, I go, I don't know.
Cal's returning a ton of production on offense. Like they could easily be one of the better offenses in the new ACC. That wouldn't be a crazy take. All right.
I'm on the under. They're on the over.
One of my overs in the first 2 teams. What's going on?
Careful, Ryan. Pace yourself. Hey, sign up over an Underdog Fantasy. Get in on the action. Dog days of summer are here, which are perfect for Underdog. First, you get the deposit match up to $250 bonus cash. Get that sweet pick'em special. And it's not only when you sign up, but they have pick'em specials every day. Just fire up the app, look in the lobby, follow them on social. At Underdog Fantasy, they get you hooked up with a lot of hey, half plate appearance for Shohei Ohtani, stuff that pairs great in the pick'em. Again, I like the higher on Shohei Ohtani. Just an example there, but they're always coming up with new cool pick'em offers. Highly recommend getting in there. And then Best Ball Mania, aka our best ball drafts, Kramer and I are doing a ton because why not? $15 million in prizes, $25 an entry, great. Return on value. So fun. Best ball is the best way to play fantasy football. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Circus Sports and the Circa Millions contest, $6 million in guaranteed prizes. The Circus Survivor, $10 million in guaranteed prizes. No rake. All you do is sign up in Vegas or Reno, and we got a proxy that can help hook you up there. Footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP, $50 off your proxy fees. Hang out with us at the Circuit Contest weekend. Kramer and I are going to be out in Vegas a ton this summer, so hit us up at Gambling Podcast if you're signing up for the contest. We're out in Vegas. We'll come say hi. Kramer guarantees he will shotgun a beer if you hit him up. Circusports.com.
There will be a handshake involved if you're lucky.
All right.
Moving along. Clemson. Dabo. Is this the return of Dabo or the continued demise of the Church of Clemson? 4-4 last year. He told everyone to buy stock in Clemson. Baseball team shit the bed in the college World Series. So
he's still mad at. I will say, after Tyler from Spartanburg called in, his team did go into FU mode. So there is that.
Go remind people that story, Colby.
Tyler from Spartanburg called into some local radio show.
Well, it's like the coaches show, right?
Yeah,
every college town has the coaches show.
And ridiculed him for lack of going to the transfer portal and just
basically said the reason we suck is because you're not using the transfer portal.
And then Dabo went on a great little rant, and ever since then they've been undefeated.
The rant included telling the caller that you're the problem, and that you need to buy stock in Clemson.
I will say this: as much as I think he should use the portal, he's by far your best coach ever. So like,
how about you shut up?
Yeah, like you were like going 6-6 every year with Tommy Bowden and previous coaches. So like,
Yeah, that was 8-4 was a down year, and that's the reason I think it's a clear rebound spot.
Well, and 2 overtime losses. I mean, if you just look at the regression stuff, losing in overtime,
They should have beat Florida State.
Yeah.
They were up that whole game, and
100% they should have won that game. That one hurt. 9.5 is this year's total. Plus 140 to the over, minus 170 to the under. So when you adjust it, it's under 9. Plus 390 to win the conference, plus 210 to make the playoff, minus 260 to miss, 45 to 1 to win the college football championship. These odds are indicating to me that the ACC is going to get a couple teams in the playoff.
well, it's interesting. I mean, because you look at their win total, it's set at 9.5, but then to make the playoff is plus 210, and the juice is minus 170 on the under. I guess it's just interesting that they're priced so well for the playoff, but they almost are dying for you to take the under on the win total.
9.
Yeah, to me, it's obviously that Georgia Bulldogs game 1,
which they're going to lose. And although they do play Georgia better than a lot of other teams, but last year was Garrett Riley's first year as offensive coordinator, and to me, he was doing things that Clemson offense hasn't seen in a long time. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there. So in that regard, I do think like the offense could be much more dynamic this year. But the defense took a major hit. Only 5 stars back. They lose like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. They lose a bunch of
X-Man Jr.
They lose a bunch of talent to the NFL there. And you're another year removed from Venables, who was a guy that brought in a lot of that talent.
Seemed to maybe matter.
What do you make of their schedule, Colby? Because it's kind of interesting. Like, doesn't look super hard. Yes, you have Georgia week 1 neutral, but they do have 2 back-to-back road spots, which I think can be tricky. Now at Florida State, that's a tough game, but then
they're playing DJU, who that you basically said you're not good enough to start
that's
here.
The
revenge game for
say.
DJU.
Yeah.
But then you have a back-to-back spot at Wake.
And Wake hasn't beaten them in forever, but damn, they've been knocking on the door.
Spot.
They've been knocking on the door, man. Last time they played at Wake Forest, the game went to overtime.
And then
last
same
year
with,
was a 5-point game.
Yeah. Averaging to Tech, sure they'll crush Tech, but
and they've never beaten Pitt at Pitt. That's
at Pitt.
November 16th.
It's a back-to-back road
I got
game.
that as a
tough.
loss. I mean, the only way they get that to me is if Narduzzi's fired by then. But yeah, and look, I'm going to make a case for some of the home games. First off,
Did you just say that Clemson's going to come into Lane Stadium in November?
They'll crush.
no, I said that's
Under
probably
the
gonna be a
lights?
loss. Yeah, I got.
Are you serious?
That's
guy's
a
just
hard.
trying to get you riled up.
Well,
Make sure you're awake over there. Not petting your digital ponies.
It's a bad take.
I feel like we should
My little
also
pony.
we should also talk about if they were to beat Georgia, or even if they lose a close game to Georgia. They have Appalachian State the next week. Appalachian State just beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M. They've won at North Carolina, at Michigan, pushed Tennessee to overtime, pushed Penn State to overtime.
If they didn't have all these back-to-back road spots, I think you could talk me into the over. But the back-to-back road spots, one of those are going to catch them, and then you throw in the Georgia, you're already at 2 losses.
Well,
Clemson is a 13-point dog to 13.5-point dog to Georgia. They're also a 4-point dog to Florida State.
That's
like you could if they lose to Georgia, which I think what is that spread, Ryan?
That's what I just said. 13.5.
13.5. Okay, sorry. So 13.5. Let's grade that a loss. They can only lose one other game and hit the over.
I agree. It's challenging too, because you're also like NC State's. This is probably the best NC State team we've seen in a long time.
So listen to this. So it's clearly you like Clemson, Colby.
But I think
the offense will be better in Lincoln.
So
Garrett Riley's.
Why wouldn't
year.
we do this? I think they mispriced this. So the total we could take minus 170 on the under.
Yeah,
Yes.
Under 9.5.
I'm with you. I think.
Knowing that they could go 9-3 and potentially still make the playoff, you bet back at plus 210, and you can create a scenario where you can, effectively, even if
The problem is let's say we go through this to say they lose to Georgia, Florida State, and either Virginia Tech or Pitt. One of those two, right?
they're probably not in it. You're right.
Well, that's 2 ACC losses, and with a 17-team conference, will another team that could have the tiebreaker with 2 losses?
Yeah, you're right. That doesn't actually make sense. But it is interesting that the odds suggest that they think the ACC is going to get 2 teams in.
Yeah, I'll take the under. I lean under, but I do think it's. You're looking at a 9 to 10 win team, I think, this year.
I think just getting to 10 is very hard because if we think Georgia is a loss, you can only lose one more game. Like it feels like they got 2 more losses.
At Virginia Tech, at Pitt is probably as difficult of a back-to-back pure like location,
especially
road spot.
in November where Clemson's warm as shit, and you're gonna go up to like Blacksburg in November and December is actually
basically
cold as
north.
fuck. Yeah. Also, don't underestimate a couple of those home matchups. South Carolina beat them there the last time they played there.
Yeah, you're right. They have 2 SEC. I mean, we should have just started with 2 SEC teams on the schedule.
But also, App State's got a history of beating teams.
3 SEC teams.
NC State is really good this year from a roster standpoint, and Jeff Brom at Louisville is dangerous.
Yeah, who do they miss? They only miss Miami.
They missed North Carolina and Miami.
But of like the top, you put North Carolina in the top
5 maybe. If I think like the
top 5. Who are the top 5 in the ACC for you?
Well, it's on paper. I think Miami and Florida State would be the top, and Clemson would be the top 3. After that would probably be NC State and Virginia Tech 4 and 5. But North Carolina probably 6 or SMU 6, like right there.
Yeah, Virginia Tech would actually probably be outside. So it's a fair point. Yeah, by odds.
What about Louisville? I mean, they played
the top teams in the ACC by odds are Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Louisville from part 1, and NC State from part 2. So Clemson or VT on the outside looking in. I guess we'll go. Yeah, I think you have to go under here. If they go over here, it's because they've beaten Georgia to start the season and they're going to have a great year. So maybe if you're bullish on Clemson, I mean, if you like Clemson,
just
how are you playing? Just playoff or conference?
Oh no. Well, actually, yeah. I mean, if you like Clemson, you can get the +140 at 10 wins.
I think if you like Clemson, you play the ceiling and just play the championship.
45.
They have the. I mean, they're they check out with the blue chip ratio. They have enough returning production and
need that caller to fire up Dabo one more time.
And yeah, the stock has been on the rise. All right, next up we got Duke, who replacing a coach once again. I accidentally fell into watching the Elko press conference where the whole crowd was swaying back and forth. So weird.
It's a Texas A&M thing.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. That's what I'm making the reference because he left Duke to go to A&M, and that it's never gets old. It's so weird. 4-4 for Duke last year in conference. 7-5 overall. Quarterback transfers out to Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Riley Leonard.
And they're 5.5 this year, +100 to the over.
Malik Murphy comes in
-120 to the under. 150 to 1 to win the conference. 1,000 to 1 to win the national championship. And explain who Malik Murphy is for those who don't.
There's a photo on the internet you probably saw of Quinn Ewers. And Arch Manning in the quarterback room next to a gigantic black dude
who played well in the spring game, by the way.
Who's clearly
6'5",
jacked.
From Englewood.
Can we find that photo? That'd be a funny photo to put up right now.
What is it? Arch, Quinn,
and Malik Murphy. Yeah. They're all sitting there. And you tell me who you want to play quarterback, just off of just
college football.
Yeah. Look. Duke has really thrown money into football, and Manny Diaz is an interesting hire because it's not like he failed at Miami. He just didn't.
God,
they went bowling.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
like Josh, I'm sending it over.
They went bowling, and he's got a better record than what Cristobal has at this point. But
to me, it's 10 returning starters, and you lose Mike Elko, who I thought was a really good coach.
Yeah, fair. But I'm encouraged to see the way Duke's spending on football. To think that just getting Malik Murphy, a lot of programs wanted Malik Murphy. You know what I mean? Like he was highly sought after. And when you see that, you see the schedule. I love a couple games on the schedule. Mainly, Manny Diaz is. Look at the shot. Who do you want to play? Who would you want to play quarterback in college football out of those guys?
It's just such a.
This could be like that ECU video where he's just beating the shit out of everybody else. You know what I mean?
Wait, these guys all are in the same weight class? Like what the same?
I'm an East Carolina fan.
It's the same category of sport.
You know what I'm talking about? The video of the guy at the pool.
Oh yeah.
The video of the guy at the pool just beating the shit out of everybody. Yeah. I mean, so back to what I was saying. There's 2 games on the schedule that are fucking hilarious. Manny Diaz was from the city of Miami. His dad was the mayor of Miami.
Really?
I think he. Yeah.
That's I did not know that.
So he got kind of fired, pushed out, having a winning year, right? And they play at Miami this year, so I can't wait for that game. And then when he was a defensive coordinator, he was fired by Mac Brown, who's the head coach of North Carolina, which just makes that rivalry so fucking great because Mac Brown fired him, and just it's going to be a good.
You think he's ready for this?
I want to see how he does coaching, but I tell you, I like some of the hires. He grabbed Florida A&M's head coach to come in and work the offense. Willie Simmons, former Clemson quarterback.
That's what it's all about. If you
they're throwing money into the program, dude, like more than I've ever seen Duke ever. Like never cared about football before.
Well, they see the money they can get from it.
Well, I also think they see the fear of the separation. You know
being
what I mean?
left behind.
So, but it's what's that win total? 5.5.
Yeah, 5.5.
I mean, the beginning of the schedule is awesome for them. They get Elon, Northwestern, UConn, and Middle Tennessee. Now they are playing at Northwestern, but once again, that's a practice facility, and then or a soccer stadium.
Lacrosse stadium.
Not even a stadium. There's no stadium. There's no seats. Yeah. It's just a field.
It's a field with some bleachers.
And then
bleachers aren't there yet. They're coming.
It's a youth sports establishment.
And then they're playing at one of my favorite stadiums, Johnny Red Floyd Stadium there in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, home of Middle Tennessee State. But they're breaking in a brand new head coach, so like they should be like Duke has had Northwestern's number, so they should be 4-0.
There is a bar at Middle Tennessee State that has an outdoor bull, mechanical bull
that you rode.
Cannot confirm that, but just
they do
it's a good
finish
time.
with a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah, the backside's tougher
at Miami, but like you said, revenge game. He'll be up for that. But then you have at NC State right after that game where you're going to be super up for the Miami game. You could see that being a letdown spot for NC State. Then you have Virginia Tech at home, down here for Virginia Tech, but still might be tricky. And then at Wake
to get 6, this is what's going to happen. They're going to start 4-0,
and then
those Carolina games are fucking insane. You know what I mean? Like Carolina's won the last 2, but they've been like Duke has let them off the hook. Georgia Tech's still winnable. After that, that's a really tough slate. That 4-game stretch there between buys is brutal. You kind of expect them to go 0-4. But after that, like they have had Virginia Tech's number lately, but
the different staff, different everything.
But Wake Forest is a winnable game. You know what I mean? Like that's not a far trip.
To your point, though,
I like what I've seen out of Duke football. I'm just trying to, in my head, factor in how much of it was Mike Elko getting these guys ready to play, and will there be a drop off with him not being there?
There probably will be, but sometimes you get that first year. Get his players because he evaluate.
What is Malik Murphy for Heisman? I feel like we need to bet on that just in case.
just because of that photo,
he looks like Anthony Richardson on steroids.
Yeah, dude.
What do you think his odds are?
100-1. I mean, he's a Duke quarterback, so I think you started at 100-1.
It's probably worse than
maybe
that.
It's the year of the Duke quarterback, Daniel Jones.
Huh? Oh, he's a comeback year. He made Kramer's top 10 list.
I think Oh, he's gonna have a great. Uses the legs.
Malik Murphy 200-1, Ryan.
Like how shocked would you be?
I'm gonna add that to my list of crazy bets.
It's Malik with 2 A's, by the way.
Yeah.
How shocked would you be if they start out 6-0? Because I think it's possible. I think they're going to be at least 4-2.
Yeah, no, I think the problem is if they don't get over before the bye week, it could be one of those that gets very sweaty.
Yeah.
Like they already got their bowl clinch.
Yeah, they're gonna have 4 straight losses. I think from. I mean, maybe Miami's a weird team. They can lose to anybody. But
I'm gonna take the over because I realize I'm gonna have a Malik Murphy Heisman ticket, so I'm gonna be rooting for him. Give me the Dukes over 5.5.
I'm gonna say 5 and 7. Give me the under.
Yeah. Under.
What?
Yeah.
You guys are crazy.
It's Manny Diaz. I would have let off with Manny Diaz as a horrible fucking head coach.
I like some of the hires he made though, dude.
Yeah, like you said, maybe he's learned from his first experience that he can't do everything.
All right, I'll go under 5.5, but I'm still on the Malik Murphy Heisman. That's my hedge.
Also, it's Duke, Sean. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I like the Duke football team, but again, maybe that was just Mike Elko.
Yeah, I think you just liked Riley Leonard. Florida State. Who can forget?
What? No, Saudi Arabia State.
Oh, what are they? Are they also?
Did you not? You didn't put this alphabetically. Saudi Arabia State. That should be on the other side.
Do they? Who has a bigger investment from the public fund, them or Texas A&M?
Wait, can we do a forensic files on that?
I think that we should do it. I mean, it's probably not very hard to figure out. Most of these things are pretty easy to track down, but
Keep going.
I gotta wait until
it's the whole theme song. It really gets funny.
The guy who narrates that.
Just imagine blacklight going over cum and blood right now.
The guy who we must have lost the guy who narrated that, or maybe he was too hard to work with.
Yeah,
well, because have you watched Forensic Files 2?
The 2 is just not quite the same.
Who the fuck is narrating that? They're failing. You got to get that guy.
And if it wasn't for forensic science,
they always end with how awesome forensic science.
Florida State. Speaking of a place that I'm sure a lot of forensic science goes down, like the black lights probably need to be replaced more regularly down there in Tallahassee. Florida State went undefeated last year, but somehow missed the college football playoff. Still trying to understand that one. 9.5.
Saudi Arabian money. They didn't want to let them in the party.
Is that what it was? Maybe. Had they already taken?
You ever think about that? You ever think about SMU not being allowed to the party?
Well, I mean, honestly, I would love to survey some of these political rallies in areas where they're also college football fans, and be like, so we excited about all this Saudi Arabian money Florida State's raising this year to get the team good. What? Like that's a good man on the street bit. Like the fact that it's the Southern schools that are taking all this money too.
Go to a college station, just walk around, and be like, so what do you think of Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
What do you think that they're the number one booster of the football team?
Well, it's all about private equity, and actually we do need to do a deep dive, because a little bit of a deep dive with Texas A&M uncovered that it wasn't just they were taking money, they were giving over research control of their institution. So who knows what else Florida State is offering up as contingency here, but they were undefeated. They didn't make the playoff. They're 9.5 on the total this year, -105 to the over, -115 to the under, +270 to win the conference. They are the chalk, +160 to make the playoff, -200 to miss. 28-1 to win the national championship. No law. Their quarterback to me is a clear downgrade, but they're being looked at as an upgrade. I know the rest of the roster is loaded, but
they took some major hits defensively. But I mean, they're raving about
part of what made that team tick.
They went from number 2 in experience all the way down to 73, but they
including Jordan Travis.
They did add a lot.
They added like 5 Alabama. Once Saban left, they just went to Alabama and says, "Hey," they just backed up a bus and said, "Guys, get in."
One of those neon signs on the back of a dump truck.
Where are we at with Big Cinco? I've just not been a fan.
I mean, I think he's a solid college football quarterback.
Last year at Oregon State.
Yeah.
Oregon State was a bounce back, but Clemson, he was hard to watch.
Yeah, but I think that might have been a little bit. Clemson fired their offensive coordinator the year after that. That might have been more of that than it was.
They've had a tough stretch for the offense there.
But I'll tell you, the schedule's nice. I see the Notre Dame game as a flat out loss on November 9th. But other than that, I mean, the Miami game's always insane. Maybe they lose to Miami. Clemson, I favor them against Clemson, but it wouldn't shock me if Clemson won that. I'll tell you, the game before the Clemson is when they're going to get bit, because they're going to be looking at that Clemson game being, who the hell is SMU? And SMU, I can see them being
and also at Miami comes before at Duke, back-to-back road spot there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You think they're going to be sore?
And Notre Dame and UNC at home. That's a tough stretch, I think, between their bye weeks at Duke, at Miami, UNC at home, at Notre Dame.
It's kind of the same exact play as Clemson, but I actually think their schedule is a little lighter than Clemson's. But I still say I think they're probably 9-3. I mean, somewhere between 9-3 and 10-2. And I'll play the under just because I think the floor of the ACC is tougher, than it was last year.
Can you be on the under of both Clemson and Florida State? Doesn't it feel like one of those is going to get 10 wins, or maybe it's Miami?
It could be Miami, but we just never see that in 20 years of them in the ACC. But
yeah, I agree.
To me, getting Cal and getting some of these other teams, like they don't really have a horrible ACC team besides Boston College. Like Georgia Tech made a bowl last year. The other,
that's in Ireland too.
I know, but like you would like to see, Wake Forest or Syracuse, or you only get one shitty team out of the possible,
yeah, you got the
Virginia's not on there. You know what I mean?
You have the middle of the for the most part. You have the middle of the
which means I think you're more susceptible. If Riley Leonard didn't get injured, I think Duke would have beat Florida State last year.
Yeah, for me, this is more Big Cinco. Yeah. I mean, I think, but they were good enough with a backup that was worse than Big Cinco. So yeah, I don't know. Like, so you're on the under.
I'm going to say 9-3.
Yeah,
I'll take the over. I think that defense should still be good enough to carry them to 10-2.
I would not be shocked if they went 10-2. I think this is one of the harder ones.
Kramer,
I'll go under.
Yeah.
I'll go
when
under.
in doubt, take the under.
Well, especially for these teams at the top. I mean, I'm okay in the ACC, like playing a little bit of variance and not thinking that Florida State and or Clemson is going to win it. I mean, again, Big Cinco's in the championship game. You clamor. And by the way, Colby, Florida State is favored over Clemson by 4 points in that game. So, your face earlier made me think we'll be scooping up the +4 as Big Cinco's butt gets tight back home in Clemson. All right, so let's that 4 unders and 1 over for me. Nice, me and Colby. Nice job, Colby. Georgia Tech, aka the wrong Tech. 5-3 in conference last year, 6-6 overall, 5.5 this year on the total, +135 to the over, -165 to the under, 100 to 1 to win the conference, 1,000 to 1 to win the championship. This is the lowest adjusted total on the episode, on part 1 of the episode. At adjust down under 5. Stanford and Virginia are lower, but they're both on part 2. They of course famously killed the triple option when they went away from it. How many years?
Even worse was
how many years has it been?
Shit, probably 6 years now.
But that was the first domino, because when the Power 5 team no longer was running the triple option, that's when you knew they were going to kill
Jeff Collins, and that was
how's he doing now?
Well, that was the best. Collins so if you don't know the backstory on this, when he took over for Paul Johnson, who retired, in a spring game, they went out. In the first play, they got in formation and they made it look like the triple option, and then he audibled out into the shotgun.
Dick.
And he did that as like a fuck you to running the triple option. Paul Johnson has been outspoken on how ridiculous that was. And then they went on to win 3 games in 2019, 3 games in 2020, 3 games in 2021, and then he won 1 game before he was fired in 22. So 10-28 since then. But Brent Key took over the program last year. Former Yellow Jacket himself was played under George O'Leary, and he had a great year, man. I was on the under, and they
surprised some people last year.
They do, and Brent Key 4-0 straight up versus ranked ACC teams.
Oh wow!
Crazy. Now I don't know if that will continue this year, but
feels like a tight sample size you worked with there.
4 games though.
2 of those are North Carolina. I think North Carolina can't for whatever reason. Georgia Tech fucks up North Carolina.
They seem like the thorn in the side of a lot of these teams, and especially if they could catch a bunch of these teams sleeping.
Well, for a lot of years when they ran the triple option, it was the worst game on the schedule. I mean, we all 3 took under 4.5 last year with Georgia Tech, and boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that really got wrong there. Probably from a win total difference, probably one of the worst. I still think this schedule is brutal. The non-con has Georgia and Notre Dame, and they don't even play Notre Dame at Bobby Dodd. They do this stupid fucking game at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where Notre Dame will have more fans than Georgia Tech fans. So their athletic director should be fired for that, by the way. Like, you have Georgia Tech fans when it's a home game, they actually are good college football fans at Bobby Dodd. But when you take it away in this gigantic stadium,
it's not good for them.
Yeah, we saw this last year with Louisville.
Sandwiched between the North Carolina and Virginia Tech. Yeah, this is a tough. The schedule is odd too, because they have 3 bye weeks. I don't know,
because they play week 0. Yeah. I lean under. I think 5 and 7. When I look at this, I'm like, okay, they're going to lose. They're dogs against Florida State week 0. Syracuse is kind of a gimme game. They'll beat Georgia State and everything because Georgia State's breaking in a new head coach. But that is Battle of Atlanta. VMI they'll beat, but then at Louisville, I got them as dogs. Home to Duke, win. At Carolina, now historically, I mean, we should probably just say they should beat Georgia or beat North Carolina.
Give them a win. Be optimistic.
And then lost to Notre Dame, lost to Virginia Tech, probably a loss to Miami, even though they beat Miami last year. In the most hilarious game. You guys remember that when he didn't run out the clock?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Feels like the regression due from that spot, but
where's the 6th win? What are we doing? We got Georgia State, potentially Syracuse. To win 6, you'd have to beat Georgia State, Syracuse, VMI, Duke, North Carolina's at 5. I don't see a 6.
Where's the 6th win?
At Georgia.
And we gave them an extra win. Probably.
Yeah, we gave them that Syracuse one or North Carolina one where you're just like, I'm on the under.
We gave them 2 that they're probably only getting 1 from.
Under. Hey, have you guys signed up over on sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm? Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. It's AI projection and picks time. Rhythm is the place for AI sports picks and props. If you're firing away on some WNBA player props, game sides, or totals, and you're not using Rhythm, you're missing out. If you're betting golf this summer and you're not using Rhythm, you are missing out. And I'm already getting ahead, tinkering away with my NFL model. They also got college football modeling, so cannot wait till we are live and active. But you can still play around with it now. Super fun, and it's just awesome to build your own model. I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's a free 7-day trial. Try it for 7 days. I know you're going to be hooked. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
I can't wait to watch you make a model. I feel like we should do an episode.
Thank you for participating.
Sean builds a model live.
Oh yeah.
Sean, just the Bob Ross style. I'm picturing back to the camera, just building his model on a canvas, classic style. Louisville. Oh, so shit. Sorry. We'll cut that from the episode. Louisville 7-1, 10-2 overall.
That was my lock.
One of Colby's greatest takes from last season was the return of Louisville. So,
had him winning Louisville ACC. I had him making the college football playoff. Almost got there.
Yeah, they actually. I don't know what the hell happened.
That would have been hilarious.
They should have won. Like to me, no, Florida State outplayed them. But
I know,
me, with all those quarterbacks out, they should have won that game.
How do you dump that game?
But it was year 1 for Jeff Brom. He's been to back-to-back. He took Purdue to the Big Ten championship 2 years ago. I think he's one of the best coaches in college football. And this year's schedule's a lot harder, but I thought he got much better at a couple positions. Like this roster is better than it was a year ago, but the schedule's harder.
Well, and comparing the total to what we saw last year, it was 8.5 last year, but it was plus 130 to the over, minus 160 to the under. This year, it's even down the middle, minus 110 each way. So, it's a come up a little bit, but like you're saying, it's kind of it's leveling out at the same point. 6-1 to win the conference, which you're starting to get to an interesting price point for me in terms of conference winners for the ACC. 490 to make the playoff, minus 750 to miss, 120 to 1 to win the Natty.
It's still a nice schedule though. Like I know it's harder than last year.
Starts out good.
It's harder than last year for sure, but because you have to go, to Notre Dame as opposed to hosting Notre Dame.
Do we think Notre Dame is going to be? I feel like Notre Dame is, because Notre Dame is an honorary member of the ACC. We will be covering it as an ACC member. We're just saying a lot of Notre Dame's going to win a lot of games.
Their schedule is very easy this year, Notre Dame's.
But you're in on Notre Dame being a really good team.
I mean, yeah, I think this. I mean, not necessarily.
Not worried about the quarterback at all.
I just think their schedule is very easy, so I think they're going to get to the playoffs. I don't know if that means they're very good.
You've included them basically as a loss for almost every game.
Well, here's the thing
we've talked about with them.
Like last year, I had Louisville beating Notre Dame. They did, but it was at the Shack. Now they got to go to South Bend. I think that becomes a much harder game.
Okay.
So there'll be dogs at Notre Dame, at Clemson, and probably at Kentucky. I think they're going to beat Kentucky this year. They should have beat them last year. They let them off the hook.
I think you're right.
But then there's another couple sneaky games there, right? The Miami game, October 19th, they host Miami. Also, SMU comes October 5th, and if Narduzzi's there on November 23rd, which is a big if.
Is he going to be dead or fired?
I feel like
we got to keep a list of Colby has Mac Brown dying, Narduzzi getting fired.
Let's make sure we have a list of all the fired.
Colby's list of shit.
I'm just saying that I feel like the physicality that the Pitt beat him last year.
Yeah,
it's a bad matchup for Louisville.
They're getting him at home though.
Brown likes to play he's a pass happy coach.
So plus 9.5 Louisville is versus Notre Dame. They're laying a point against Miami. They're catching 8 versus Clemson.
I'll take Louisville to beat Miami.
They're a pick against Kentucky right now.
This team will go 10.
And that's all we got for game of the year.
At 8.5, I'm on the.
I'll
over.
take the over 2. 9-3. Give me 9-3.
Yeah, I mean, because what's the case where they lose the fourth loss means they've dropped one of like Boston College and Virginia are probably going to be the pivot.
Another thing we should talk about is the Notre Dame loss doesn't matter for the ACC championship. So if they lose to Clemson, which is the only ACC game we have them losing, that puts them in over Clemson and Florida State. Yeah.
All right. But do we I think you don't. Do you take them to win the ACC at 6-1 or just make the playoffs at plus 490?
No, exactly for what Colby just said, because I think they can have that extra Notre Dame loss not affect them in the championship game
to get to the championship.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think you're better off sprinkling the 6-1 than the 490.
And wouldn't it be hilarious? I know we'll get to this on the B side of the episode, but I do think it's possible that they're not playing Clemson or Florida State. It could be the Hokies. It could be another surprise team we'll talk about.
Don't get Ryan excited,
right?
Well, the Louisville misses Virginia Tech, so there's some logic to what Colby has been called a wise man by many people, and so
not my wife.
Nice. That was really well done.
Classic that was marriage material.
Yep. That is how you
dog park talk.
That's how you. Yeah, I was gonna say that's how you enter a social engagement, like a nice backyard party, and really get the room going.
I know how to do that one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Just take it on the
first rodeo.
Take it on
dog
the
park. The good one is, although I don't even know if you can use this one anymore, but it used to be like if your dog started humping the other dog, be like, oh, you didn't even buy her a drink. I like that one. I don't know if that's.
Look, this is not my first rodeo though. I know I can read the room, much like Papa John at a when he's going to Rupp Arena, he dresses in all blue. And
I thought you were going to say what he said on the conference call because he did not read the room well.
Didn't read the room. Well, he didn't read the room because he didn't see the room. He was on a conference call but didn't read the room well when he complained about his tax cuts when he had a 25-bedroom house in Colorado with the fucking moat. If you have a moat, you can't argue about taxes. All right?
Yeah, that's actually should be it. You know what? I'm actually for incredibly high moat taxes. That's actually something I would be. I think most people would vote for that. Let's raise the moat tax.
If Biden had said that, at that thing there, he'd be winning over people. Instead, he said nothing but.
Yeah, and then you got Trump building a moat down in Mexico. It's like, nope, that's a river, bro. All right, so we got. What I was gonna say is I don't have male dogs, but another good one at the dog park is if your dog is humping another dog, and it's a female, you go with I don't know where you learned that.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Miami, the one from Florida. Thank you for all the odds sites for making sure they include that. 3-5 in conference last year. That's so odd for Miami. They've done so well since that defecting of the Big East. 7-5 overall. This is the one area where I'll be like Colby and run it all the way back. 9.5 is their win total. Plus 140 to the over. Minus 170 to the under. Plus 440 is the conference number. 210 to make the playoff. Minus 265 to miss. 500 to 1 to win the national championship. I don't know. I don't really have a wise handicap here because F the U.
They spent a shit ton of money on this roster.
Yep. Just like Oregon was spending tons of money all the time. And they have a coach who just doesn't know how to maximize shit.
6-10 in his 2 seasons in the ACC. That's his ACC record.
Reference that play against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. You can't take Cristobal.
Hold on. What's great is the Georgia Tech thing. So if if they need the ball, they win the game, and
they can kneel it.
They have 8 wins then. Right?
Why would anyone do that?
Why would you kneel the ball, Colby?
Now, what was great about that was he had an opportunity to learn from this 3 years before when he was playing Stanford in Autzen Stadium in Eugene when he was Oregon's head coach.
Yep.
When he did the same exact thing and the guy fumbled and Stanford took it back 98 yards for a touchdown.
Do you remember that
So
play?
he did not learn. He did not learn from a one abomination of
yeah, you get one lifetime colossal fuck up, but he didn't even learn from that.
Do you remember Do you remember who that was?
that took it back for a touchdown, or who fumbled, or what?
Solomon Thomas.
Oh, you're right.
I think it was.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but yeah, I mean, you can't let that happen twice. Like that's the kind of thing that if you
also can't let that happen.
When that happens in Madden and you're just being an asshole and trying to run the score up, and it's like, oh my god, I'm such an idiot. I shouldn't do that next time.
Another thing is, after he messed that up and Georgia Tech got the ball, he then decided to blitz, and Georgia Tech threw like a 60-yard touchdown. Yeah. So like it should have. We were thinking if you were watching the game, you thought like they might get in field goal range and send it to overtime. Instead, you get burnt on that. But this roster, look, other than Ohio State, them and Ohio State are basically bidding for, Cam Ward. A lot of people thought he was going to go to Ohio State. Miami outbid for Cam Ward. They love
Cam Ward.
That's what, and everyone's raving about him. You talk to anyone that covers the team, they say like they haven't had a quarterback like this in a very long time. So, and you look at, they brought in Damian Martinez, the highest priced running back on the market.
Can I say something? I heard the same positive vibes about Tyler Van Dyke.
Yeah,
but Ward is better.
I heard the same.
Yeah. Ward I've seen at 3 schools.
We were on Cam Ward.
I agree. I like Cam Ward. I'm just saying we've also heard Miami quarterbacks looking good in the spring before.
That's true. That is true. But the schedule is nice. But hold on. So what? 9.5 is the win total. The first game of the season is absolutely fantastic because both coaches, the loser of that game is going to be
fired.
Especially Miami's point of view, like you just spent that much money on a roster.
Oh my!
And you lose to a Florida team that's been, a losing team over the past 2 years, and projected to be a losing team this year. The win total is at 4.5. So if that happens, watch out for, this thing could get toxic. But at the same time, it really could, man. Miami is fucking hilarious with
Colby,
that shit.
You need to create
how do you not have Cristobal on the get fired?
I need a
because I think his buyout's too much.
Colby Dant. I need a Colby Dant top 10 potential toxicity after game rating. Give me the top 10 games that.
I can't wait to watch that game in the swamp, dude. I'm so glad that's on the schedule.
All right, but Miami does like they're in the state of Florida 3 out of the first 4 weeks, and 2 of them are road games.
9.5's the win total. I'm on the under. I got bit. I took the over last year. I thought like, okay, the roster's pretty damn good.
3 losses. Where are they?
Well, they won that Georgia
the Georgia Tech game.
That certainly would have impacted.
Well,
where are the 3 losses?
The 3 losses, I think it could be Florida because that game's at the Swamp, right?
You think so? Even though Florida, not a team that we were very high on?
Look, I favor Miami in that game, but not by much. Like what? 1 point, 2 points?
Let's see what the actual number is. Miami's laying 2.5.
The Swamp. I mean, that's still a legit home crowd, and Miami doesn't have a home crowd. By the way, we should note that because when they play Virginia Tech on a Friday night,
a lot of Hokie. I will say this. So odds that are out there up on DK right now, 2.5. Miami is on the road in the Swamp, which feels very obvious just to take Florida, even though I don't love Florida this year. They're laying. I
actually think I lean Florida the more I think about
laying
it.
7.5 against my Hokies in a, like you mentioned, not exactly the best home edge and a road destination. I'm seeing a lot of chatter on the interwebs of Hokie fans making that road trip.
Well, they're losing the next game.
They're catching a point against Louisville.
They're losing to that Cal game. That Cal team.
They're a dog to Louisville, and
as they should be.
And they're a pick 'em against Florida State.
Louisville beat them in Miami last year.
And Florida State. I mean, again, it's a great rivalry, but the Florida State fans have been kind of dominating the crowd.
Could they lose at Syracuse? Certainly.
Yes, Kyle Honda McCord.
Certainly.
Kyle Honda McCord coming in there.
I was gonna say they got a proper quarterback. Like Syracuse has a dude who left Ohio State.
No one's talking. We're gonna talk about this on the.
I want to know what really happened at who fucked Ohio State that they told him to get lost.
A 5-star,
and then they didn't have a kid for a little bit.
Well, Syracuse. We're gonna talk about them on the B side, but this is
I like how you call it the B side.
This is
kids don't know what that is.
This is going to be really interesting because Syracuse brought in a shit ton of really talented players. Like Fran Brown, they hire Fran Brown from Georgia, Kirby Smart guy. He brings like 5 or 6 Georgia guys with him, right? They get a starting defensive lineman from Texas A&M. They get a kid or two from Bama. Like they just loaded up, and you brought in Kyle Honda McCord. I think that's a dangerous game. So. I'm on the under with the Hurricanes. 9-3.
I think yeah, it does seem like there's potentially going to be some fun tiebreaker scenarios with a bunch of 9-3 teams in the ACC.
Especially, yeah.
But Louisville,
with all these conferences,
Louisville will be either 8.
That Notre Dame game.
Louisville will
be
solidified. I think. Yeah.
That's actually a good point. Now that we've gone through basically 4 out of the 5 top teams in the conference. So Hokies would be 6th. It does seem like so far Louisville is the best odds to me for the conference title. And one more time, fuck Miami.
They're all gonna run into this problem. I find it fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how they figure it out. All right, last one on the A side, as Colby calls it. UNC, aka North Carolina.
He's a music guy, Kramer.
4-4 in conference. Once again, disappointing. Classic North Carolina season. 8-4 overall. Mac Brown can recruit him. He just can't coach him. 7.5 is the total this year. Plus 1.5 or 105 to the over. Minus 125 to the under.
I'm starting
48
to think,
to 1 to win the conference. That's all right. 500 to 1 to win the national championship. Probably one of the worst priced teams in the nation. They don't have a chance to win the national championship. They don't have a chance to win the conference.
Well, they're strange though. Under Mac Brown, the second tenure, in my opinion, like when they're supposed to be good, they suck, and fair. when they're supposed to be bad, they're good.
Well, obviously, huge drop off. No Drake May. What do we think about Max Johnson?
Was the son of Brad Johnson.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And they brought not only him, they brought his other brother at tight end.
Brother connection.
Yeah, you got multiple Johnsons. Jake Johnson.
Multiple Johnsons. Kramer, you must love that, right?
We got a James family problem
dick rubbed on me tonight.
Sorry, Ryan was talking. He got all excited with the Johnson talk.
I don't like that. That's offensive. Do you know Brad Johnson played for the London Monarchs?
I did know that.
Yes. Oh, don't talk Europe NFL. Colby. That was back when it was a league.
That was before it was NFL Europe. That was World League at that point, right?
The Rain Fire, one of the best franchises.
I think that was NFL Europe by then. It was right around then. You might have had Refrigerator Perry on that roster too.
Max.
R.I.P. Fridge.
So I wonder if Max wasn't born yet, so he didn't get to experience London.
This is, I think, one of the harder teams to project because they are super talented. Like they're a team that
I got Mac Brown better than Mario Cristobal.
Oh yeah, he's won a national championship. You should have him. What's the win total on this one again?
7.5.
7.5.
Oh man, this is tough though, man. They like.
Why do you like them?
Well, I just think that when you write them off is when they're good, and I pretty much have written them off.
No, you were right the first time.
I've written them off. You wrote.
What do we think? I mean, usually it's their defense is so horrible, but they try and outscore teams. Are they running back the same formula?
Dude, all right. They could lose at Minnesota. They could lose against JMU.
I got them as a dog to Minnesota. I think Minnesota's a little bit better than them.
They could lose to JMU.
They could, but they also could beat JMU. They also have beaten Duke recently. They also
Pitt at home, Georgia.
It's
Tech
a nice schedule, man. Virginia actually fucks them up for some reason.
They have a bye week before the Virginia game, and then they have at Florida State, which they probably would have lost anyway.
This is a nice schedule.
And then you finish with Wake at Boston College, NC State.
What is the like? They have.
I don't think they get to 4 losses.
They have one like automatic
Even if
loss.
they get 4 losses, they still get the over.
We need to clip Colby saying this is a nice schedule for use on our NFL previews.
It almost sounds like someone like a creepy guy at the office. Be like, hey, nice outfit, sweetie. That's what Colby sees when he's got a schedule he likes. Hey there, yeah. I just dropped my pencil. I'm picking it up. Nice.
I need to give her some hot tamales. Huh?
North Carolina is laying 2.5 on the road at Duke. They're catching 1.5 against Minnesota.
I'm on the over. Give me UNC over.
It was 7.5.
Yeah,
this is a nice schedule, man.
Nice.
I can't.
They're catching 4 against NC
1,
State.
2, 3, 4.
How many games will they be favored?
5, 6. That's what I'm saying. They're gonna be favored in like 9.
Dogs against Minnesota,
but 1 point dogs.
All right, dogs against Minnesota. Charlotte favored, NC Central favored, JMU favored, but they're going to lose that game. They're small favorites at Duke, so that's 4 favorites and a short dog. Favorites against Pitt.
Yeah,
favorites against Georgia Tech.
Virginia 7-1.
Favorites at Virginia.
At Florida State they'll be a dog. 7-2.
Favorites against Wake.
8-2. Boston College
favorites
9-2.
Probably.
They'll probably lose
Jesus
that game.
Christ,
It's gonna be cold.
We do have to. I don't.
I'm taking the over. Give me the over.
Oof. Feels very logical.
I think over, and they have a decent ceiling.
What am I missing? Does Max Johnson just suck?
I mean, he started at LSU.
I know. All right, put it in there.
Put it in there.
Over.
Oh, I thought you were talking
three overs.
Some more Johnson talk. So we're all on the over.
I mean, they're favored in 8 or 7. Did we get?
No, I think we said 9, right?
9.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Come on. All right, lock, and future.
Not locking up UNC.
And thank you everyone for tuning in. Catch up on all our college football conference preview, Colby's 134 team previews over on the FBS or the college football experience, but also some FCS talk as well. They get it all. Kramer and I put out our top 10 fantasy football preview podcast. Check those out. Kramer, what do we got?
So we'll go backwards. The future has to be Louisville.
At 6-1 to win the ACC.
If I'm playing the win total, I might as well instead of getting -110, give me a juicier 6-1 for them going 9-3 and playing in that championship game, because one of those isn't a conference loss. Lock number 1. Oof, there's so many juicy under opportunities here. Do we go Georgia Tech or do we go Miami? Yeah, let's go Miami. They'll find a way to fuck that up. Number 2. Oh man, I don't want to go. You know what? I think it has to be this Duke program. I thought I was going to go under. You guys were kind of optimistic, and then everyone settled on the right side. So Duke under, Miami under, fade the private schools. Louisville, they're the best price on this episode.
I'll take the Louisville over 8.5, Miami under 9.5. And Malik Murphy to win the Heisman.
Whoa.
200 to 1.
Whoa.
I know a stud when I see one. Colby?
But you are on the under for Duke.
Yeah.
Is that?
It's a hedge.
How does that work?
I'm not really going to be betting the Duke win total. I do think in most scenarios, my model has Duke going under their win total in 67% of the scenarios. However, Malik Murphy winning the Heisman, I have it at 25% of the time.
Dude, your model is crazy.
So you got to have a little Malik Murphy sprinkle. And I'll actually take. I think UNC has an upside. If Johnson is as good as his dad was, I think UNC to win the ACC at 48-1 is not crazy.
Well, we just went through the schedule and we had our losses being Minnesota and Florida State. If so,
those are winnable games.
They would be in the ACC championship with
That's
Louisville.
what I'm saying. Like them to get to 10-2 or 11-1.
They also are Nike,
and they're going to be in the championship.
They're the second, they're Oregon of the East when it comes to Nike's ability to pump money through a university. through an individual name.
For my future, give me Louisville and Carolina. I think like it makes a lot of sense from a schedule standpoint that those guys could beat out Florida State, Miami, and Clemson.
One of the spots in the championship game is going to be a team that's not in the chalk.
Yeah. For me also, I will lock up the under on Georgia Tech 5.5. I will also lock up the over Louisville 8.5.
You like the Georgia Tech better than the Duke one?
I almost locked up Duke too. Okay. That was like I almost put that over Louisville because I'm like, damn, I feel pretty good about that.
Third lock?
We could do that.
Yeah, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech lock.
And add me
Sean,
Duke
you don't
under
have to,
5.5.
You don't have to do a third lock if you don't want to, Sean.
I have one though. It's going to be UNC over.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty easy. Georgia Tech under.
But you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, give me Duke as mine under 5.5.
I don't have to do anything. I'm here because I love ball. All right. Got a lot of locks, some long shot futures. That's what we do here on the Sports Gambling Podcast. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, youtube.com/Sports Gambling Podcast.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
Part 2 coming up for the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
F the U.
Kramer. Let it ride.
Dude, when you look at NC State, Syracuse, and